What is up, YouTube, and welcome to a Universim tips tutorial from my own playing of the game so far. Now we're in full release, I thought it best to try and go through everything I can. Hope you enjoy the video. If there's anything that I've missed, please do let me know at the end. If I do help at all, please let me have a like. Let's get to it. I hope you learned something. Coming into the main loading screen, you will see you can log in the top right hand corner. I would suggest doing so for the additional items you get. The main one being unlocks the pyramid, the Egyptian pyramid, from the medieval age without having to do any research or unlocking any tiles. It's also free, so it doesn't hurt. Going into a new game, you get to pick between the size of planet you wish to start on. This is your planet. You can always change it to the pumpkin mode as well, which I haven't tried. There's no difference, it's just colour variance, and the moon obviously looks slightly different. So into this, you will see there are 4 sizes, small to large. There are no differences in difficulty in terms of selecting the planets. However, the larger the planet, likely the easier the game will be, because there is more resources, and obviously the smaller the planet, the less resources. Additionally, the larger planets, however, will be more intensive on your PC, your GPU, because you can build a lot more on them, and as such, you will have to manage a lot more items at the same time. Moving into the Nugget trait screen, this is where you create your nuggets to start the game. We'll start with the actual nuggets one by one. So neutral is just your standard game start. Nothing too difficult or original there. It's very original in terms of it's the way you start. You do have to lock a lot of these, so for you, you may or may not have them grayed out, but we'll go through them just all the same. So neutral is nothing remarkable of the nuggets. There's no positive to them, there's no negatives to them, they are just standard nuggets. The next one down is True Believer, and as you can see, True Believer means that when the nuggets are born, they believe in you immediately. You don't have to get their vote, they just believe in you. However, because they have the negative to that is that they are lab rats, alien find them fascinating, and you will get more UFO sightings and more nuggets or buildings attacked or stolen. Arnold is increased carrying capacity for all the nuggets with this trait, but their bulky physique weighs them down, lowering their maximum stamina, and also they eat a lot more food than the average nugget, and food is obviously a crucial resource in any survival game. Matinator mates far more regularly than other nuggets, often several times in a row. The partner's heart will unfortunately give out after 5 matings, and they can consume a large amount of food. The partner is not the one with Matinator, it's the partner, so if you have 2 Matinators going at it, they should both be safe to do more than 5 times. Fugitive, the nuggets used to dodge in the law and move 30% faster, so that's an movement increase of 30% to all the nuggets with this trait. However, they have the thief negative, which means they have a small chance to revert to their old ways and steal some of your resources from your settlement. They don't go anywhere, they just get deleted basically. They don't actually steal them and take them anywhere, they just delete them. So really that's just they delete some of your resources. Nug Norris is a reference to Chuck Norris. He has got an extraordinary strength and agility. He can knock down trees in a single swing and mines resources at great speed. Also singularly, pretty much, so stone, mining, etc. Very, very good at all of those. However, due to his physique and power, he does damage any nuggets nearby that are in his capture when he or she is working, and also eats a lot more food. Greenlander is one of the later ones you unlock, and this one is the nugget loves nature. They will drop seeds while walking around which grow trees. It's random. Their lifespan, however, is reduced due to this, and they consume a lot more water, and of course water is a very strict resource as well. Highlander, they live forever unless killed by external force or disease. External forces being earths or crashings, things landing on them, etc. They sleep a lot longer than a normal nugget, but once they are infected, the disease spreads like wildfire, and I can contest to that. It is extreme if they catch something. However, they do live for many, many hundreds of years. And finally, Coffin Dodger, likely the hardest, or selectively the hardest, one of these traits, and that is that they reincarnate after death, losing a small amount of maximum health each time. This means each rebirth causes irreversible body decay, increasing the chance that the nugget is reborn as a zombie, losing their ability to reincarnate. They will hunt other nuggets and convert them into other zombies. So this is a zombie apocalypse one. Now, the incurable, they can't be cured by any other means than the divine intervention, which is me, as you, as the god of the game. This does not apply, though, to zombies created by other nuggets at all. So that's an overview of the nugget traits and your selection. I would suggest that they sort of get harder as they go down. To a point, though, Greenlander isn't that hard at all. For me, the most difficult one I expect is Coffin Dodger, Highlander, and probably Fugitive, I would suggest. There is a plant seed. The planet seed is as for any other game. You can share it, use it, pick it, however you like. It's up to you. In the middle section, you can see your two nuggets, the male and the female, and you can do them individually or both together. So you can make them both orange, or you can turn one off and make them any colour you like. Remember that when you go into the game, they won't stay like this forever. They will mate and the genes will change, as will the traits. These traits will not last throughout your entire playthrough, only on the genes of the ones that keep it. Those that don't, won't. You also will get nuggets throughout the game that won't have any of these traits, or maybe have some of these traits, and also will be totally different colours. So as you go with the colour in, you can pick it yourself. No difference. There's no difficulty change at all. It won't make any difference to your gameplay, but you can pick from the standard humanoid colours, and then you can just pick from a RGB type style as you wish. Be warned, if you pick sort of green or white, you won't be able to see them very well when the grass is green and the snow is white. Finally, on the right hand side, for the other things that can happen in game, natural disasters. This covers all things like meteor strike, heat wave, blizzard, tornadoes, etc. You set whether they never happen, occasionally happen, or often. The wild animal attacks, again, it's wolves, wolf attacks in a various amount, never occasional or often. Now, occasional is like once to twice a year, often is 4 to 5 times a year. It may change, but currently that's where we're at the beginning of 2024. Exile aggression is as expected. While playing the game, some of your nuggets will leave and start their own colonies. They are classed as exiles, of course, and you decide whether when they leave are they friendly, neutral, or aggressive. They will attack you, demand things from you, and cast spells, negatively so, on you if they are your enemy. Of course, neutral and friendly, they should be pretty safe. And finally, creator points, regeneration. This is the points that you use to cast all the magic spells, and with this you get to pick whether it's a standard, rapid, or unlimited. For new users, unlimited is more of a sandbox type thing, so I would suggest going with that to try it out. Rapid is good, it just speeds up the actual process of it, and standard makes it a little bit more difficult. Going into the game, you have the option to play with the tutorial. If it's your first time, I would always suggest doing that. It will help you out, but of course there are the tips that are on this video that should help you out even more. Once you're ready, clicking on the Start New Life will activate the loading screen. Don't be surprised if it takes a little while. The loading screens on this game are quite long. But when you get there, you will get into a cutscene, and the guy in the background, the narrator, will talk you through the rest of the way. So once you come into the game, you'll be expected to decide where your epicenter goes. This is the main center of your civilization, really, your town center, your everything. So what you have to do in the bottom corner, you select that and pick where you want to start. Now, my first suggestion and tip number 1 really with this is to go next to the largest body of water you have on your planet. Don't have to be right next to it, but around it certainly, because water is very critical to start with, and so are fish. And the largest body of water will mean you have to micromanage a lot less when playing this game. So my next tip is build more than one. So when you start, you obviously won't start with all of these items. I'm just doing this for the sake of the video, but you will start with your water. Now, water pumps are how you get water out of any water source. I would suggest starting with at least 2 of these. Holding shift allows you to build multiple, or if you just click once without holding shift, it will go off the build menu. Then, after you've built your water pumps, you will need the water reservoirs. These are where your water is stored.
Or maybe some kind of automated
And I would always start with 2 or 3 of those as well. Spreading them around your epicenter so that wherever people are, they have easy access to them. Just a note to help you out, moving on into the game. When you are building, you will see a faint road. This road is fixed into the game and it can't be changed. It will be used later on as actual roads. When building, build up to this line, but do not build on it if you can help it. You are allowed to, but I would suggest for transportation later in game not to. As you can see, you can place it next to the road, as so. But when you get too close or you're on the road, it will go red. You never want to place the building when it's red because it will stop that piece of road from being built. You can hold control and that will lock it to the road, as you can see here. As you build, you want to make sure that you keep up with the buildings. So this city will grow over time. The residential buildings, which are the buildings, the houses in which your nuggets live in, will build automatically. You don't have to do anything. They will do that themselves. They will use resources, but not many. And as you go, they will also upgrade them when you change eras as well. I was just making sure, as you look at this map, if I zoom out, you can see we've got an epicenter here and this sort of a circle. You can see already where the roads are being worn. This is where you need to make sure that you keep up with your buildings. The most important buildings to keep up with and make sure you've always got them spread around where they need to be are reservoirs, cemeteries, engineers' huts, and fire stations. However, fire stations are much further on in the research, and cemeteries are too. With this village, we've now got the water coming in here. We have got, at any point, if you click on a building, you will see where they are placed. You can see I've got these spread out. So really, you can see just by looking at this, I would suggest that we put another one of these about there. As you progress through the research, you will unlock more buildings also. You can see here I've got the engineer's hut. They are crucial and critical, and you have to have one covering your entire base. These stop your buildings from falling down. They repair them. And the area that they cover is the area of buildings they will fix. You can see over here, all 3 of them water wheels that we placed are not covered by an engineer's hut, so eventually will fall down because no one will try and repair them. Placing down another one here, you can see that green goes over there, and we now have our whole area covered by engineers. This is imperative as you extend to remember to put down an engineer and a reservoir as you build out. This city is very small at the moment, but it will soon grow quite quickly. We'll also look at putting down the next building that you will get, which is a cemetery, and these are equally as crucial. They are large, so it's best to do them as soon as possible, but by placing them down, it covers 2 things. Naturally, this is a survival game, and nuggets die. These are where nuggets work, and their job is to collect the dead. They collect the dead, and you can see here there is burial sites, and they also burn them as well to save on space. If you do not have a cemetery, the corpses will drop dead where they are, eventually rot, and poison any passers-by, causing them to die too. And again, as you build out, remember to keep up with these buildings. The areas covered by them are shown in green. And it's critical that wherever your nuggets are, that there is a green coverage for them. You will notice nuggets disappearing off to go and cut trees very far away. And if they were over here as an example, you would build one here to cover that area. The icon above where I'm about to place, which is a broken house, is telling you that this is in fact not in an area for a engineer's hut, so it won't be repaired. So if we place that and go over to the engineer's hut, you will see it is correct and it is not covered by an engineer and eventually will fall down. So we'll just build an engineer there as well. Now that's all covered and everybody's happy. Coming down to the bottom, and there's not many resources here because again this is the start of the game. But there are the resources that you can have. You have your food, and the first item is how much raw food you have versus how much cooked food you have. With the water, it's the same, how much water you have made. So this is showing whether it's going up or down. Of course, green is good. And how much water you have stored. 1. On the actual resources that you use for building and crafting, etc., you will see there are a few options when you hold over there. The most important I would suggest is you can see the total storage, but above that directly required for construction. This will give you an actual indication of how many of this resource you need in your entire city world map at any one time, and then you can compare that to the number that you have. You know if you're going to be short or not. The two numbers above that, the top one is how much of that resource you're gaining over a set period of time per minute. And the one below that is how much your buildings are using of that same resource per minute. So of course, if the top one is higher than if line 1 is higher than line 2, you're in positive. If line 2 is higher than line 1, you will eventually run out. The aim of the game is to keep your planet as healthy as possible. Over to the right hand side here, you can see there is a bit of information shown. Very quickly, the most important one is your atmosphere here. Keeping that as close to 100 as possible. Pollution down here, you can see keeping that as close to 0 as possible. Removing any atmosphere will of course affect your planet in ways of global warming.
Started to go bald.
Pollution will of course affect your planet in ways of cooling. You can see that when you go over these. Each of these indicators are set in sections, and it tells you once you put the cursor over the item what will actually happen. So a pollution of 0 to 20% does nothing, but 20 to 40 increases the temperature of your planet by 16 degrees a year with a max temperature of 40. And the Nugget sick per hour is 10%. And of course, it gets worse and worse as the pollution rises. Max temperature of the planet is 300 degrees at that point, which obviously is catastrophic. The same applies for the atmosphere. If you're in the top stage, the Nuggets prefer this. But once you start dropping below this limit, you will find that your Nuggets will die off. Vehicles will not be able to be used, which come much later in the game. And they can't breathe without assistance, so you'll need to provide them spacesuits or buildings that produce oxygen. Keeping your trees stocked up is important, and that's shown on the spell one. You can actually use a spell to do that. And the water as well, being replenished, is always critical. This number here shows your pollution per year. A positive number here means that this will climb, and eventually your planet will get worse and worse, lakes poisoned, etc. A negative number here means your planet is healthy, and this will not rise, and your planet will stay as healthy as it is. To bring this number down, the easiest way to do so is building parks. This recreational area under the green icon shows all of these parks that you can indeed unlock as you play. These parks will reduce the CO2 and the pollution to your planet, and you should make sure to build these as soon as possible, but you will need bricks and planks, which is the second stage of crafting material, to do so. These will counteract any of the negative buildings you build, i.e. mines, which is mining resources, or manufacturing, which is turning resources into final resources such as cement, glass, steel, ceramic, fuel, etc. As you progress through the game, you will find that there is the automation of the building of the residents, which I mentioned right at the beginning. They will also automatically upgrade these buildings when you change an era being a time of life. The era is depicted by how far along you've researched. At the minute, you can see we're in Stone Age. As you research along this list, you will finally get to here, the Tudor architecture, which unlocks medieval. Then when you get to industrialization, you will unlock the modern age. And when you get to lunar colony, you will unlock the space age. The buildings will be automatically upgraded and the resources used. If you want to stop that at any point, it can be done on the building menu. You can see the options are here. So by selecting these, and they will unlock as you progress through, you can lock them to Stone Age structures, to medieval structures, to modern structures, space age structures, and that's the building box, which isn't part of this query. So doing this will stop them from upgrading your buildings and saving the resources so that you can use them on buildings you wish to upgrade or build. On the planet you will see these meteors dotted about that happen throughout time. To open them up, you just need to click on them a few times. 3 times is enough to break them open fully, and that uncovers this cube. Using your telekinesis power to pick this up, press F will take you directly to your epicenter. You can then put that down to be researched. Looking at these boxes, you will see there is 3 stages to the research, and Nugget will come and do this automatically. Once it's complete, like this one, it will give you some ideas about what is inside. But don't be afraid, instead of opening, to just scrap it. And you will get free resources for doing so without any risk. The biggest risk for these is an explosion that can quite easily kill your nuggets at any one time. The Town Hall. The Town Hall allows you to set a governor. This should be done as soon as possible. It is very useful for playing the game. The governor in the top here, their job is to put people to work. So as you're playing the game, you will see this icon here over to the right means that there is nobody working in that building. There is a building space and nobody is filling it, as you can see here. The governor will fill them spots when you have enough nuggets to do so. And you select with this percentage here, which I would suggest you have on around 80%, which means 80% of your population will be doing work, 20% will be labourers. Going through, you'll be allowed and you will unlock ministers. Each minister has a different role. The Minister of Food sets out hunters' huts, farms and fishing piers. Water does water pumps and reservoirs. Energy does your energy buildings. Health does your hospitals. Space does your Hadron Collider and spaceport. Environment does your oxygen refill and generator. Architecture builds your engineers automatically. Ministry of Entertainment builds your recreational buildings automatically. Defence builds your defence buildings automatically. And Education builds your schools and universities automatically. Do not be afraid to sack these if they get out of control. Your game will not play on its own. You can't just put the ministers in, fill this up, and your city will go great. Ministers will likely build more buildings than you need, and efficiency will drop quite significantly. They'll also build buildings that you don't need when you're low on resources, meaning that your building that you've selected will not get built because the resources were taken elsewhere. You can, just by selecting a minister,
looks remarkably
the X up here allows you to just click on that and you will sack them and leave them until you need them again. As we mentioned it there, the next step I would suggest to build is schools. Schools are important because nuggets are uneducated when they are born. All nuggets are as such. Building schools allows the nuggets to be educated. So upon building this school, you can see the students are going in here, and they will have a bar that comes around them and they will learn. Once they're finished, they will be classed as educated. That's it. However, as you move on through modern age and beyond, most of the jobs that your nuggets do require educated nuggets only. Uneducated ones won't work. So it's important to get a couple of schools up and running as soon as you research them. When you get to the electricity age and you're actually able to do your next stage of research, you will get to pick one of 3. There's 2 levels of electricity. This is the first. You get to pick between wind, kinetic and combustion. Wind energy is wind turbines, of course, requires no fuel, but requires a lot of wind. And you will need to build quite a few of them to sustain a decent sized city. They are my preferred choice for this stage. For difficulty as well, they are the easiest. Combustion is next, and this uses gas as a fuel to run a power station as we're used to today. Good and efficient, and it does require gas, but it uses it quite sparingly at 1 gas per 1 minute of real time. And again, the second easiest of this choice. The last option is kinetic. This is very similar to a hamster wheel. You build the hamster wheel and your nuggets have to run on said hamster wheel to provide you with energy. You need a lot of these. A lot. I cannot stress enough, you need a lot. This is the worst way to make energy, but if you want a very difficult challenge, this is the way you should go. Upon selecting whichever you want, it will give you a warning to tell you can only pick one. Once you're sure, you can move on. Then, in your utilities tab, it will unlock that building, and you can build it as such.
Even if it takes longer to reach it.
Level 2 of the power, you get to pick between Industrial Bloom for a nuclear power plant, or Equalism, which is a solar panel. Both are reasonably good. Solar panels obviously only work in the day, and you will need a few to make it matter. However, the nuclear power plant is clean, but it requires 12 nuggets and fuel to run over a period of time, providing a fixed 1,000 watts of electricity a time. However, if you run out of water, it will explode, causing catastrophic damage to your planet. So for the safer option, of course, solar panel is my tip there. If you notice though, these are right down here just before the space age, many researchers away from the previous ones I've just mentioned. So you will have a long time before you actually get here to these two options. And again, you can only pick one, and you'll be warned at the time of making the selection. When you finally get into space, and I'm spoiling you here with a spoiler of one of the crystal planets that you can explore in-game, one of the first buildings you want to build is the observatory. Now, the observatory should be built on the home planet first, of course, but whenever you get to a new planet, the observatory should be your first goal. Providing you have already done the said steps to move on to a planet, which of course is water, food, and pumping, etc., which are all covered as part of the shuttle. The observatory allows you to explore further in space. So wherever your planet is, you can explore from this in a radius given to you, as you can see the white circle. And what you use this for is to extend this yellow perimeter, which is your actual uncovered space. And you can see by clicking there, we make that circle larger. This is how you uncover new planets and broken satellites to explore. And it's the only way to move forward in space. Remember, space is infinite, though there are ways to stop that, which I'll show shortly. Any planet that is not already sorted, or as in by sorted I mean livable, a terraformer is required. Now, whether your planet is global warming and too hot, or it is ice age and too cold, this machine will sort that for you. However, it will require fuel, as you can see, 1 fuel and 1 chemical per rotation. And it will also require nuggets to power it. Once it's up and running, if you look down here, you will see that it increases or decreases the temperature of the planet by +6. Now, it's important it just changed there because that's 2 degrees per person within the building. So if you have all 3, you will have 6, 2 is 4, and 1 is 2, of course. Over a period of time, this will fix the planet totally. When the planet is fixed, as we can see here, you can dismantle this. It's no longer required, and you can carry on as if the planet had an atmosphere to start with. The next item from the space industry that you need to build on these planets is the largest building probably in game, and that is the spaceport. The spaceport has two jobs. The first one is to send resources from the planet it is on to any other planet that you have. It also will receive resources, but it's not necessary to, and you can receive resources from a spaceport without having a spaceport. When using a spaceport to send materials, you are restricted by two things. If we go on here, we can see there is a load, an amount of rockets. So this is the amount of rockets we have to use. And we can see a kilo as well. So you can see there is a weight of 160. So each rocket can hold 10 kilos of goods. This is important because when you start, you only start with 4. Each spaceport gives you 4 rockets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And each having the 10 kilos. You can only build one spaceport on a building at a time. And in doing so, you have to build one on each planet to increase that amount. When exploring space, you need to remember that each planet has its own loading screen. So every time you travel between one planet or another, you will have to go through the loading screen. It is quite long, so make sure to get everything done that you want to on a planet before moving. Looking at the screen, you can see there are multiple planets. The starter planet is this one here, where I started in this series anyway. And you can see from there you can go to various planets. Finally, when using the Planet Destroyer, or the Kraken as it's known in-game, make sure not to destroy all of these planets that are on the far edge. So an example here, this one, you can indeed colonize this planet. You will be able to build an observatory on this planet and then research all of this space around it here, allowing you to then move further. If you use the Kraken and destroy this planet, it will disappear from game and you will never be able to get it back. You will no longer be able to explore in that way. And if you accidentally destroy all of these ones on the outside of your shroud that you've uncovered, you won't be able to travel any further. And although it is infinite planets, it's infinite, this screen is infinite, if you can't get to a planet to move forward, you will be stuck. Okay, so over to the spell showcase, just to go through the spells to try and help anybody understand if they don't already. Starting with telekinesis, nice and simple, one of the first spells you get. This is used to basically pick things up and put them down. Now you have to hold control when using all spells. So by holding control, you can see that it actually does put an outline on certain items. That is the item that you're currently looking at. And if you hold the left click button for that short time that that bar loads, you will pick that item up. You can then move it anywhere you wish and drop it. You can, of course, with that being wood, take it to your storages and top them up, or even directly to the buildings if they need it. Just a quick zoom out here to show you I'm spoiling it with yet another planet discovered in the solar system. Now, if you do exactly the same, but continue to hold down the left shift, you will see that yellow bar will fill up. Now what happens, it will continue to do the same spell. So this will now pick up one random item at a time within the vicinity of its circle that you can see on the floor. And it will just keep going and going. And you can pick up, depending on if you have enough creator points, which of course mine are infinite. It's 5 points per pickup. And you can see there we have 66 down in the bottom here, 66 stone and 26 wood stored here. And we can of course do exactly the same with that. Go and put it in a storage facility or directly into a building. Also with telekinesis, you can pick up any of your nuggets or any of the animals in game. You can pick up the animals and give them to food for your nuggets, as you've just seen me do there. You can also do it with your nuggets to keep them safe. And lastly, you can also, which is the one that's least known usually, do it with water. So if we find a body of water, if there is one on this planet, there is. So exactly the same principle as before. And you hold it down and you will start to collect water. And again, in the bottom down here, you can see that's 80 water. And you can use that to put into buildings or reservoirs, etc. It's reasonably good to use that in winter when you have a desert where the center doesn't freeze over fully. You can steal the water from there and dump it straight into the reservoirs to keep things going if you have enough creator points. The next one on the list is what I like to call maracas, or it is actually a jolt of joy. Plain and simple, casting that once, going onto here, you will see jolt of effect. It gives them 10 minutes of +3 happiness. It does not stack, so doing it multiple times like so does not make a difference. It does not stack, but it gives them 10 minutes of happiness, and it's good in a pinch if you need it. Trickle effect, or rain. Nice and easy. You make it rain. Now you can use it on areas like this where this lake is actually 54% full. If I shut down a few on there, you'll see that will very quickly create lots and lots of rainstorms, 21 in fact, 22, and you can see it's filling up the lake. This is important to keep your lakes filled, but if you follow my recent or most recent tip on this video, this is why I say go with the largest body of water, because it saves micromanaging small amounts. You can also make it rain on plants and trees, and they will grow slightly quicker. The crops that they produce will grow slightly quicker also. And also with the rain, you can use it directly on a reservoir to fill up the reservoir. Or you can use it on a fire to put out the fire. The next one on the list is forestation. And it's what it is. It's what it says on the tin. You plant trees. Now, the trees will match whatever the planet has, so these trees on this planet are as so. And by holding control and dragging, you get this circle. Now, this depicts how much points you are going to use. Between the minimum, which is just 1 tree and 1 point, or the maximum of 200, like so. Then letting go, and it will plant 200 trees in that circle. This is important to use for keeping up your trees of the planet to stop any global warming from happening. The next one is Earthquake. Now, this is an offensive spell used usually for protecting your civilization against an enemy civilization. By doing so, you just left click, control and left click as normal, and it will create an earthquake in that area. Buildings will be damaged or destroyed in that area, so be careful if you're using it on your own civilization, because it won't end well. The next one on the list is fire. Now, fire is, as it sounds, it sets that fire to things. It's used offensively, and it can be used on buildings or trees around buildings to spread wildfires. Also for things like the locust swarm, that is one of the natural disasters. It's one of the best spells to do so. And all you do is left click on something and it sets it on fire. Of course, this fire will now spread throughout this jungle and go and go and go until either rain puts it out or I do, which I'm not going to. I'm going to go on the other side of the planet and pretend it never happened. The next one is Holy Ground. Blesses the ground for your nuggets to live on. This is probably one of the ones that I get asked about the most in comments or in messages. And basically, it's nice and simple. This circle here, left click, we'll put this pretty little petal thing on the floor in that giant circle. Hard to see on this planet, but you can see there's a lot of petals and flowers popped. All this means is your nuggets now, when they build new houses, they will build them houses on this area first. When this area is full, the petals will disappear in a pop of confetti, but this just makes them build their houses in a certain place, just in case they get in your way. Electrify or lightning strike, the smite of God is what most people are used to. This can be used for many things. The first one being offensive. You can use it to kill almost anything, like so. In the animals, you can use it on nuggets, you can use it on exiles. Remember though that the exiles have a shield over their base, will need to be broken before you can use it on their actual base. You can also use this, and it's the best spell to use for bringing down UFOs. 2 lightning strikes will bring down a UFO. They're only 25 points each. You can also use this for taking out the locust swarm, and it's a better option because it's half the price of fire. And finally, you can use this on your batteries to charge them up to give you free By free, I mean not using any other resource, electricity. And usually 4 to 5 lightning strikes fills a battery. The next one is 𝐂𝐍𝐈𝐒, and this one is the love spell that you get used to at the very beginning of the game. Holding control shows you the males and the females, and obviously you have to make a pair to make a relationship. Now, you can do same sex, there's no problem with that. There is actually an achievement for that, it's no problem. So you can do that guy to that guy, and there you go. Nice pretty rainbow for LGBT community. And they will go and do their thing. Or you can do the same opposite sex as well, and they will also go and do their thing. Now they'll go home and make babies, and of course increase your population. Now, one tip to use when you're actually trying to increase your population is you can actually just hold the button, and if you double click on a nugget, it will automatically tell that nugget to find their partner and mate, and if they don't have a partner, it will force that nugget to find a partner. So to do so, you just need to double click on the nugget with the 𝐂𝐍𝐈𝐒 spell, and there you go, voila. The next spell is the Meteor Strike. Now, this is the most expensive spell of the whole game, and it's also the most destructive, and it is what it sounds like. So left clicking on this giant circle gives you a target. You can cast more than one. Of course, the maximum you should be able to cast if you're not on infinite points is 3, because they are 300 each, and you can only hold a maximum of 1,000. A meteor has actually come in and destroyed my clone tower, but that's not a problem. Remember that they don't come from straight up, straight down. They come in at an angle, and that building was so tall it got hit anyway. And also, very important, as we've showed you in the previous, there is in fact meteors, 1 meteor per meteor shower that you can harvest for its goodies. And the same as the principle before, you just need to open it by clicking on that shell, and then you will get the box from below. This over here is a special event. You can see it's a giant skull, which is quite cool to see. I'm going to actually screenshot that for this episode. But opening up this, exactly the same principle, and then you can use your telekinesis spell to take these boxes back to the epicenter to be researched. Usually 1 or definitely 2 of these meteor showers is enough to wipe out an exile civilization. The next spell is Kickstart, and all this means is it forces a nugget to work. So if a nugget is not working and they are at home, or they're resting, or they're getting a drink, or whatever they're doing, if you use the quick start, it will immediately fill up all of their stats and force them to immediately start to work. And it's depicted by a little red angel symbol above their head, or maybe devil because it's dark red, I'm not sure. But it will force them to work. It will upset them, but if you need it, right? The next one is the Protective Dome, and it is indeed what it says on the tin. Again, you can make this from small, 15 points, to a maximum size that is actually the cap on the game, which is 1,000. And I'm going to try that just to see what it looks like. Why not? Not entirely sure if that's going to work. It is. And as you can see, I didn't actually know that myself. As you can see, it makes a spell that protects. So if we go back over to the Meteor spell and say nuke here, but then I zoom out, you will see that no. Now what happened there, it was destroyed. The dome is not infinite. It will manage to support 2 to 3 meteor showers before it's destroyed, and when it is destroyed, everything will come through, and then this is what happens. Meteor Dome's good for protecting you against natural disasters. It also deflects tornadoes, which is very useful. Rejuvenate. Rejuvenate spell is used to heal your nuggets. So any nugget that needs any health, and if we go on to the nuggets here and see, these nuggets here have only got 100 health out of 175. So using this spell on them will indeed make them all 175 out of 175. It can also be used to cure poisons, broken legs, rotten nugget juice that is left on the floor causing problems, and also pollution that is on the ground. Season change is exactly what it says on the tin. Upon pressing Control and left clicking, you can choose to skip to any of the 4 seasons that are in game. I use this mostly to skip winter because I'm not a fan. But you can choose, and obviously the further you skip, the more expensive it is. 150, 300, 450. Just by picking one like so, you will see it will immediately jump to that season, and you're good to go. Tornado is what I mentioned earlier, can be deflected, and it is just literally what it says on the tin. You create a tornado, you have no control over the direction it goes, nor how long it's going to last. Spawning a tornado can be equally as bad for you as it is for the enemy that you're using it on. But it's good in a pinch, and it's not that expensive. At 150, it's half the price of the meteor shower. And we are back through to telekinesis. One note that I forgot to add, apologies. Polluted water, polluted lakes can be cured by using the rain trickle spell in them, and that will remove the poison. That's it for the spells. Any questions, queries or comments, let me know. And that is it for this tips, tricks, tutorials, and just help guide, whatever you want to call it. That's my first one. So if I've missed anything, please do let me know. If it has helped you at all, please consider giving me a like to help get it out there for other people. And remember to subscribe to see the actual series of this game and many others under my YouTube channel. Again, thank you very much for watching, for taking the time. Take care. Goodbye.